What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of Racing Through Canada's Past. I hope everyone had a good week. I know we're only 2 episodes in, but I am beyond blessed to see the support everyone has been giving this show. From criticism to praise, I thank you all. Helps me to continue to bring you better content moving forward. On this week's episode, we will be looking at motorsports in Alberta. Now, motorsports in Alberta has been quite the tricky task for me to locate, as when you type into Google, when was the first motorsports event in Alberta? The results vary from 1950 to 1967. So I'm looking through as many different sites to see just when motorsports started. From what I've come across is that some of the earliest automobiles started coming into Alberta in around the early 1900s. By 1906, there were 41 cars in Alberta, but there was more on the way. One of the first instances I have come across of a race was more of an endurance, I guess quality control, I guess we could call it. But in 1906, a man by the name of H.W. White took ownership of his brand new Ford in Edmonton and drove it to Calgary. Now, on this trip, White wasn't alone, as he brought his friend G.T. Lundy with him, as he was mechanically inclined. So just in case anything happened, he had a fall guy. It took the duo 2 days to drive from Edmonton, leaving on March 2nd, early in the morning on March 2nd, and getting into Calgary at 7 p.m. on March 4th. During the first part of the trip, it says that there was some weather that White and Lundy experienced, but once they got near Lacombe, it had cleared up, and they were able to show what the Ford could really do. He reached a blistering speed of 64 kilometers an hour. Now, I know what you're thinking, John, that's not that fast. Yeah, but you got to think back 110 years, almost 115 years ago. That was pretty fast. But now in 1922, a daredevil by the name of Paul Welch decided to give it a shot, driving from Edmonton to Calgary. Now, this speedster did it faster and quicker than White and Lundy did back in 1906. Paul completed this drive in 9.5 hours, which is astonishing for me, especially considering 16 years earlier, it took Lundy and White 2 days to drive it. And it's even saying that it took as long as about 4 to 5 days to even drive that stretch. So remarkable how quick it got quicker over time. Paul completed this feat in a McLaughlin Buick Master 4 automobile, which was equipped with state-of-the-art shock absorbers. Because of the rough road conditions, the shock absorbers actually fell off during the trip. But true to his word, Paul still did plug the shock absorbers and said they were state-of-the-art and to showcase like what they were about. Now, this is where I again, when you're doing these kind of research, this is one of the cool things I came across was that just a little over a year later, Paul set a world record for driving up a ramp and launching his car 73 and 2 inches. Talk about taking the automobile to new heights. Now, one of the earliest racetracks I was able to locate was a track called Breckenridge Oval. It was located in the northwest corner of Edmonton, where currently Cumberland Road Northwest runs through. Now, I do want to preface this by saying there wasn't much information about it, but it started out as a half-mile oval built and owned by Gavin Breckenridge and Oscar Green. Races were very inconsistent, and due to poor car count, the track closed its doors in 1953. The track was shortened to a quarter mile and paved over. Speedway Park, or also known as Edmonton International Raceway, was born. In 1967, the property expanded to 251 acres of land and expanded the facilities to include a quarter-mile drag strip, as well as that opened in 1967, which was NHRA approved, and also a 2.5-mile road course, which opened a year later in 1968. Seating at the Oval for the Speedway Park held 8,000 people. Now, on average, even 30,000 people could come and attend at the road course. The first race on the road court was the Can-Am Series, which competed at the track between 1968 and 1973. The race was actually called the Klondike 200, and with well-known drivers, Can-Am drivers included Bruce McLaren, Jackie Stewart, Peter Revson, Jackie Ickx, and Danny Sullivan. The Canadian road racing raced Formula 5000 cars at the road course in 1969 and 1970. The Sports Car Club of America used Formula 5000 from 1970 to 1972, and Formula 5000 cars with full bodies, called Can-Am cars, in 1981. Formula Atlantic ran at the Speedway from 1971 to 1977, and then again in 1981. Some of the well-known drivers that came to the Speedway included Gilles Villeneuve, Bobby Rahal, Kiki Rosenberg, and Howdy Holmes. As with all good things, the Speedway and its land was purchased by Qualico Developments and closed in 1982 to make way for housing developments. Now, while looking on the Canadian Racer Track database, it is filled with tons of information and some quick facts about the different tracks in the province. Finding information about the background of racing in Alberta is hard to come by. Now, if you found a lot more things than I did, I would love your input. From what I could see, there's next to no information. So if anyone's watching or listening wants to give a guy a helping hand, please feel free. I'd love the help to learn more about racing in Alberta. So please, if you know of anything or got more information for me, message me, find me on Facebook, Instagram, wherever, shoot me a message. But I did find some information on more tracks, like the Hanna Racing Bowl. It was located in Hanna, Alberta, and it does say the track opened in 1946, but it also says events were held at the Speedway as early as 1954. The track was utilized on what was then a rodeo grounds. In 1946, it is said that there was a Model T race held on June 21st. In 1960, organized racing took place with the newly formed Hanna Stock Car Club. The rodeo grounds were unused at the facility, and a proper track was built on the property, with the track sitting in a natural bowl. Now, I couldn't find any photos, and by the looks of Google Maps, that bowl is now no longer there. It's flat land. It's an industrial park. So again, one of those things, if you or know someone who maybe have pictures of this, I'd love to see them. I'd love to have an idea of what this place looked like. Because it's one of those things, I want to see what these places, some of these other tracks, I found photos, I have an idea of it, or even on Google Maps, they're still utilized as a horse track. But this is one of those ones that there's nothing of it that I can find. So like I said, if you can help a guy out, love to see it. But the racing of the facility only happened once a month, and I was on the first Sunday of the month. The track closed for good in 1962. One of the earliest tracks to come across was the Lethbridge Exhibition Fairgrounds, which was a half-mile oval. Again, there's not a whole lot of information about the track or any history about it, but I was able to find a picture from 1912 or 1913, which I'm going to throw up right now. And it was in a collection from Arthur Rafton Canning. It looks like the car is speeding around what would be turns 3 and 4, and it is just leaving a trail of dust. If you're listening, you need to go over to YouTube and take a look at this photo. But yeah, it looks really cool. I don't know if they didn't water down the track or if they really knew how to track prep back then. I don't know. That's it, but it's a nice, cool trail, dirt trail, coming up behind of this little roadster. Now in 1964, it did take on a different name, called the Lethbridge Expo Speedway. They were the track that they were using wasn't the half-mile horse track that it's on the same property, it's the same place, but it says that they weren't utilizing the half-mile oval of the horse racing track. There was actually a quarter-mile built on the Speedway or on the grounds in 1964. The track was operated by the Chinook Stock Car Racers Association in the early years, and then by the Southern Alberta Auto Racers in the last few years of the track. The track closed in 1970, but looking at Google Maps, it looks like it may still operate as a horse track. I don't know. I didn't do much research past that. I'm not worried about horse racing. I'm worried about stock car racing and auto racing. Now, another early track we came across was the Edmonton Exhibition Grounds, which was a half-mile dirt oval on a horse track. Now, that seems to be the common pattern with early motorsports was that they didn't have a place to race, so they raced where they could, maybe streets or horse tracks. And I get maybe that's why we do run a lot of ovals in running left, because that is what we were accustomed to with horse racing. If someone can help me out here, maybe tell me I'm wrong, love to know. That's kind of what the thought process is here. But in looking up again, one of the things, looking up on the track still runs, looks like, from the horses, and it's actually sitting on the same grounds, actually right across the bridge from Rexall Place where the Edmonton Oil was played. So I don't know how much Google Maps is up to date or anything like that, but that was some of the things. But even when I was looking on Google Maps, it looks like there was actually like a small speedway in there. Like I don't know if maybe that was just a place where they got the horses to warm up, kind of thing, before they head out on track. I'm gonna put a photo up though. I'm gonna take a photo, put it up here. Let me know what you guys think. Uh, yeah, but from what I could tell though, most purpose-built racetracks didn't start popping up till about the 1960s, 1950s, 1960s. So anything really earlier, it's really tough to find. But at the Edmonton Exhibition, racing happened in 1906 and it ran on and off until 1950s. Now, again, on Canadian Racer, they have some photos from 1925 that I'm going to throw up on the screen now. In 1951, the IMCA stock cars came to Edmonton, where Herschel Buchanan from Shreveport, Louisiana, won the race. Though, again, there's not a whole lot of information about it. I had to go real digging for that one. A lot of the purpose-built racetracks, like I said, it started popping up in the 60s, with many operating for maybe a few years before closing for developments or industrial use. There are still a number of tracks that are active in the province, and we're going to talk a lot about them in future episodes. But one of the most interesting tracks I came across only opened in 2017, but it's the division they run that really gets me to look at this track, and I want to I want to get a trip to go out there. This looks really freaking cool. It is actually they only run one division, and it is a Model T division. That's right. Way back from the cars that started the first racing, like the Model Ts. I'm going to throw out some photos here of what they do. The drivers and the safety crews match the time period. I see upwards of about 4 cars. It's a whole day affair. Like it includes even like a breakfast from the firefighters before the racing starts. Yeah, like here, Alberta T Racing. So if you guys go to Facebook, Alberta T Racing, I'm gonna put it up in the comments or in the description below. The the pancake breakfast details are in. Breakfast starts at 8 a.m. till 10:30 p.m. at the Brunnenheim Community Hall. Small plate $7, large plate $10. Hosted by our friends at the Brunnenheimer Fire Department. They put it on by the looks of it each race day. But man, like it's so cool. Look at these. Like you may think that these photos are from, 100 years ago, but these photos were just taken last year. So like this is how a schedule of events works. 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. There's pancake breakfast. The gates open at 10 a.m. Safety inspection for the cars happens at 10:30 a.m. Drivers meeting at 11:30 a.m. There's time trials. Racing starts at 12:30. There's an intermission at 1:45 with live music and motorcycle flat track racing. There's even a car show that runs all day from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m., there's a Thistle Hill petting zoo. So like there's no shortage of action you're going to catch going out and catching a race at the Brunnenheim Agricultural Society that put this on. So, man, I got to make a trip out there. That looks so much fun. Of course, like the past two episodes before, we're going to jump over now and chat about a couple of the drivers. I know I left you on a nice little cliffhanger there, so that when we come back to it, there's lots more. The first one we have is Eldon Rasmussen from Standard, Alberta. Born in July of 1936, he was a Canadian driver with the USAC Championship Series, and he raced in 1971 and then 1973 through 1979 seasons, with 23 career starts, including the 75, 77, and the 1979 Indianapolis 500. In lap 125 of the 1975 race, Tom Saniva, attempting to lap Rasmussen, ran over his left front wheel and was launched into the turn two while exploding and disintegrating before tumbling to a stop. The spectacular nature of the accident and the fact that Saniva escaped serious injury have led to it being replayed on television. So I'm going to have to find where that happened. And if you guys know about it, I may be stupid. I may have jumped into something here. But in his Champ Car career, Rasmussen finished in the top 10 only 3 times, with the best finish of 7th in 1975 at the Ontario Motor Speedway in Ontario, California. He built his own race chassis, and he was dubbed the NASCAR, which he campaigned with limited success from 1973 to 1979. In all 3 of his Indy starts, Rasmussen qualified his race car on the last row. Unfortunately, Rasmussen was forced to retire from racing at the age of 42 as he blew a tire in the 75th lap of the 1979 Pocono 500, causing him to hit the wall, resulting in a lower leg injury and head injury. The crash caused a crack in the safety helmet of Rasmussen and left him unconscious when he was first aided by crew. He later regained consciousness while being treated for his injuries on side of the track. Eldon was a fabricator of race parts in Indianapolis for years and was inducted into the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame. Another driver we got here is Trevor Weiss. He was born in November of 1957. And of course, he was a Canadian race car driver. He raced in 102 Winston Cup races from 1982 to 1993, posting 2 top 10 finishes and ran 6 races in the Truck Series in 2003. His best finish in that series was finishing 22nd at Memphis Motorsport Park. In October of 2006, he attempted to start racing again with a team called H&K Motorsports, and it was co-owned it was a co-owned business with Eddie Kucharski. Boys made 2 NASCAR Busch Series starts in 2007, both for Randy McDonald. He started 40th in Milwaukee and finished 9 laps down in 29th. His final NASCAR start was at the Montreal race at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. He started 41st and finished 35th with transmission troubles. Again, there's not much unfortunately to go off. I'm gonna have to go find more research here later on. Frank Weiss is gonna be the last driver we talk about here. He was born in July of 1944 in Cardstone, Alberta. He was a Canadian race car driver, of course, and he competed in the USAC and CART Championship Series. Weiss made his Champ Car debut in 1975 in Milwaukee. He returned the following year to race in Milwaukee and Michigan. In 1978, he attempted to qualify for the Fall of Phoenix race, but failed to qualify. In 1979 was his most active year, as the CART and USAC split ruptured Champ Car racing, and Weiss competed in the USAC events at Ontario, both Milwaukee races and Pocono, and the September car race at Atlanta Motor Speedway. He registered a career best 7th place finish in the August race out of Milwaukee and finished 16th in the 1979 USAC National Championship. Weiss did attempt to qualify for the Indianapolis 500 in 1979, but failed to complete rookie orientation. The following years, Weiss returned to Indianapolis and finished orientation, but failed to make the field. During practice, he suffered a crash and had to sit out a month with a fractured knee and ankle. He failed to qualify at Indianapolis in 1981 as well, but that would be his final attempt at a Champ Car race. Thank you guys for checking, and that's going to be it for all our drivers this week on the show. So thank you guys for checking out Racing Through Canada's Past. Make sure to follow Joe Media and Promotions on Facebook and Instagram, as well as www.joemedia.ca for all the latest news and updates. Please feel free to leave me a comment, good or bad. I love seeing them, guys, and it helps me learn, helps me make out better content, like I said at the top of the show. If I missed something or someone I should have looked into, let me know. I want to know these things so I can go revisit them. at a later date, like we're going to do with Alberta at a later time. But until next time, hope you guys have a good week. We'll see you next time. Bye now.
You can find Jomo Media and Promotions on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and at jomomedia.ca. Until next time, keep your engines running and your belts tight.